Hello and welcome once again to a cozy reading of The Art of Living by Epictetus. Character matters more than reputation. Worry and dread are a waste of time and do not set a good example for others. This is especially true regarding your reputation and influence. Why live in fear about things such as whether you will gain public recognition in your profession or community, or whether you will get the opportunities and prerequisites that others do? Don't be bothered by such concerns as people don't think well of me and I'm a nobody. Even if your reputation were really to matter, you are not responsible for what others think of you. What real difference does it make to your character and well-being if you have a powerful position or get invited to fancy parties? None at all. So how is there any discredit in not being a power broker or a celebrity? And why should you worry about being a nobody when what matters is being somebody in those areas of your life over which you have control and in which you can make a real difference? But without power and repute, I won't be able to help my friends, you might say. It's true that you won't give them access to money or the halls of power, but who really expects that such assistance is yours to give and not for others to provide? Who can be expected to give anything that they don't have? Still, it would be great to have money and power and to be able to share them with my friends. If I can only get rich and powerful while preserving my own honor, faithfulness to family, friends, principles, and self-respect, show me how and I'll do it. But if I have to sacrifice my personal integrity, it's stupid and silly to urge me on. Besides, if you had to choose between having a certain amount of money and having a loyal and honorable friend, which would you choose? It's better if you help me become a good person than to push me to do things that threaten my good character. Well, what about my obligations to my country? What do you mean? If you're talking about making a grand charitable donations or putting up fancy buildings, is that really an issue? A metal worker doesn't make shoes, and a shoemaker doesn't make weapons. It is enough if everyone does well what he or she is supposed to do. Well, what if someone else were to do the same thing as me? That's fine. It doesn't make your contribution any less valuable. But what about my position in society, you ask? Whatever position you can hold while preserving your honor and your fidelity to your obligations is fine. But if your desire to contribute to society compromises your moral responsibility, how can you serve your fellow citizens when you've become irresponsible and shameless? It's better to be a good person and fulfill your obligations than to have renown and power. All advantages have their price. Is someone enjoying the privileges, opportunities, or honor you desire? If the advantages that person has secured are good, then delight in that person enjoying them. It is his or her time to prosper. If those advantages actually turn out to be bad, then don't be troubled that they didn't come your way. Remember, you will never earn the same rewards as others without employing the same methods and investment of time as they do. It is unreasonable to think we can earn rewards without being willing to pay their true price. Those who win at something have no real advantage over you because they had to pay the price for the reward. It is always our choice whether or not we wish to pay the price for life's rewards, and it is often best for us not to pay the price, for the price might be our integrity. We could be forced to praise someone whom we don't respect. Make the will of nature your own. Learn the will of nature, study it, pay attention to it, and then make it your own. The will of nature is revealed to us through everyday experiences common to all people. For example, if a neighbor's child breaks a bowl, or some similar thing, we readily say, "These things happen." When your own bowl breaks, you should respond in the same way as when another person's bowl breaks. Carry this understanding over to matters of greater emotional import and worldly consequence. Has the child or spouse or other dear one of another person died? Under such circumstances, there is no one who would not say, "Such is the cycle of life. Death happens. Some things are inevitable." But if our own child or dearly beloved dies, we tend to cry out, "Woe is me! How miserable I am!" Remember how you feel when you hear the same thing concerning other people. Transfer that feeling to your own current circumstances. Learn to accept events, even death, with intelligence. Self-mastery is our true aim. Evil does not naturally dwell in the world, in events, or in people. Evil is a byproduct of forgetfulness, laziness, or distraction. It arises when we lose sight of our true aim in life. When we remember that our aim is spiritual progress, we return to striving to be our best selves. This is how happiness is won. Treasure your mind. Cherish your reason. Hold on to your purpose. Don't surrender your mind. If someone were to casually give your body away to any old passerby, you would naturally be furious. Why then do you feel no shame in giving your precious mind over to any person who might wish to influence you? Think twice before you give up your own mind to someone who may revile you, leaving you confused and upset. Consider what comes first, then what follows, and then act. Cultivate the habit of surveying and testing a prospective action before undertaking it. Before you proceed, step back and look at the big picture, lest you act rashly on raw impulse. Determine what happens first, consider what that leads to, and then act in accordance with what you've learned. When we act without circumspection, we might begin a task with great enthusiasm. Then, when unforeseen or unwanted consequences follow, we shamefully retreat and are filled with regret. I would have done this. I could have done that. I should have done it differently. Suppose you wanted to be victorious at the Olympic Games. That's fine, but fully consider what you're getting yourself into. What does such a desire entail? What needs to happen first? Then what? What will be required of you, and what else follows from that? Is this whole course of action really beneficial to you? If so, carry on. If you wish to win at the Olympic Games, to prepare yourself properly, you would have to follow a strict regimen that stretches you to the limits of your endurance. You would have to submit to demanding rules, follow a suitable diet, vigorously exercise at regular time in both heat and cold, and give up drinking. You would have to follow the directions of your trainer as if he or she were your doctor. Then, once you are actually in competition, there's a good chance you'd be hurled into a ditch. You might injure your arm, sprain your ankle, get your face slammed in the mud, and after going through all this, you might still be defeated. After you've contemplated all these possibilities, mindful of all the things that might happen and their consequences, and if your resolve is still strong, then exercise your judgment. If the overall picture still seems beneficial, then do enter the games wholeheartedly. By considering the big picture, you distinguish yourself from the mere dabbler, the person who plays at things as long as they feel comfortable or interesting. This is not noble. Think things through and fully commit. Otherwise, you will be like a child who sometimes pretends he or she is a wrestler, sometimes a soldier, sometimes a musician, sometimes an actor in a tragedy. Unless we fully give ourselves over to our endeavors, we are hollow, superficial people, and we never develop our natural gifts. We've all known people who, like monkeys, mimic whatever seems novel and flashy at the moment, but then their enthusiasm and efforts wane, and they drop their projects as soon as they become too familiar or demanding. A half-hearted spirit has no power. Tentative efforts lead to tentative outcomes. Average people enter into their endeavors headlong and without care. Perhaps they meet with an exemplary figure like Euphrates and become inspired to excel themselves. It is all well and good to do this, but consider first the real nature of your aspirations and measure that against your capacities. Be honest with yourself. Clearly assess your strengths and weaknesses. Do you have what it takes to compete at this time? To be a wrestler, for instance, requires extraordinary strength in one's shoulders, back, and thighs. Do you have the physical prowess and agility to be among the best in this sport? It is one thing to wish to be a champion, or to do something skillfully. It is another to actually do it, and to do it with consummate skill. Different people are made for different things. Just as certain capacities are required for success in a particular area, so too are certain sacrifices required. If you wish to become proficient in the art of living with wisdom, do you think that you can eat and drink to excess? Do you think you can continue to succumb to anger and your usual habits of frustration and unhappiness? No. If true wisdom is your object, and you are sincere, you will have to work on yourself. You will have to overcome many unhealthy cravings and knee-jerk reactions. You will have to reconsider whom you associate with. Are your friends and associates worthy people? Does their influence, their habits, values, and behavior elevate you, or reinforce the slovenly habits from which you seek to escape? The life of wisdom, like anything else, demands its price. You may, in following it, be ridiculed and even end up with the worst of everything in all parts of your public life, including your career, your social standing, and your legal position in the courts. Once you have given due consideration to all of the constituent details that compose the effort to live the higher life, venture forth with your utmost effort. Make the necessary sacrifices that are the price for the worthiest of goals, freedom, ever-mindedness, and tranquility. If, however, upon honestly appraising your mettle, you are not fit or ready, free yourself from delusion and tread a different, more realistic road. If you try to be something you are not, or strive for something completely beyond your present capacities, you end up as a pathetic dabbler, trying first to be a wise person, then a bureaucrat, then a politician, then a civic leader. These roles are not consistent. You can't be flying off in countless directions, however appealing they are, and at the same time live an integrated, fruitful life. You can only be one person, either a good person or a bad person. You have two essential choices. Either you can set yourself to developing your reason, cleaving to truth, or you can hanker after externals. The choice is yours and yours alone. You can either put your skills toward internal work or lose yourself to externals, which is to say, be a person of wisdom or follow the common ways of the mediocre.
Thank you for joining me once again for a reading of The Art of Living by Epictetus. I hope this helped you relax, maybe think about life and how we move through it. And I hope you join us again for another exploration in the art of